Good morning. Thanks so much for being with us today and welcome to the January meeting of the Board of Regents. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the MUS website. Jasmine, can you please take the roll?
Yes, I'll begin with you. Chair Rogers.
Here.
Regent Buchanan.
Here.
Regent Dombrowski.
Here.
Regent Lozar.
Here.
Regent Bao.
Here. Here.
Regent Blossom.
Here.
Commissioner Christian.
Here.
Governor Gianforte is being represented by Dylan Klattmeyer.
Here.
And Superintendent Arnson.
I think she'll be joining us in person later today. Thank you so much, Jasmine. It's great to see all of my fellow board members here, and I'd really like to thank you all for joining today. I know that this commitment takes time out of your schedules, and I appreciate you making the time to be up here in Helena. I also wanted to just note that we've all had an opportunity to engage with some of our legislative colleagues and the governor with some meetings around the Montana Chamber event that's been happening over the past couple days here in Helena, and what a positive experience it's been and what an appreciated opportunity is for us to be all to join together with our colleagues. Our agenda for today's meeting is fairly light, but first I want to congratulate all our students across the system who recently earned their degrees during the commencement ceremonies in December. Over 1,000 students graduated this fall semester at each of our flagship universities, and hundreds more joined from across the state. The diplomas each of them earned reflect years of hard work and dedication. They are also the outward sign of the investment each person has made in their future. I'm excited about the opportunities in front of all of our new graduates, and I'm confident that our state's future will be brighter because of the skills and abilities that they will be bringing to the communities across Montana. Before I turn it over to Commissioner Christian for a system report, we'll move to the approval of the November meeting minutes. The meeting minutes have just been distributed to the board. Are there any corrections? Seeing no corrections, the minutes are approved as distributed. I'll now turn it over to Commissioner Christian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. Happy New Year's. I too would like to extend congratulations to the students who graduated at the end of the fall semester. It's quite an accomplishment. I would probably extend that congratulations to all the faculty and staff that helped them get there. Obviously, faculty is the key to that success, and it's that team that helps shepherd those students through. And so we greatly appreciate everyone's effort to make that happen. Just a few brief thoughts. As you know, Madam Chair, we're now our second day into the legislative session, the 68th legislative session. Will prove to be an active one. I think there's already over 4,000 bill drafts that are been requested. 200 and almost 300 of those now have actually been introduced for consideration. So moving quickly. Already hearings scheduled, pay plans scheduled for this afternoon. So they're getting at it, and they're getting at it quickly, and I think that's a good thing. We'll obviously be working diligently over the next few months to tell our story and working closely with legislators, the governor's office, to demonstrate the incredible value that the MUS brings to the state. And we'll spend time responding to questions from legislators about programs and services that we offer, and then ultimately making a case for our budget. Starting the week now of January 18th will be the I guess that's midweek, which is unusual, but that'll be the beginning of our subcommittee hearings. And that's 4 or 5 days that we'll spend in front of Section E, just telling our story and trying to demonstrate the value in our budget. I think going into the session, we've got a pretty clear perspective of the governor's priorities. I said in the November meeting, and I say again, I express our gratitude to the governor for funding integral pieces for us around House Bill 2, the pay plan, and capital projects. I think those all demonstrate good support, and now it's in the hands of the legislature, and we'll work with the legislature to try to move those forward and see that we get strong investments in those, that we can keep doing for students what we need to do within the MUS. I don't have a lot of details to share. Obviously, we're we're 2 days in, but know that you've got a team here at Ochi. We meet every day. They'll assign priorities and track bills, and they'll work closely to follow those bills. We'll be present when we need to be to testify on behalf of the MUS in support, or in some cases in opposition to legislation that we see affecting the MUS, and we'll work diligently to try to keep all of you in the loop on what's going on, and other constituents from the MUS, to try to build as much of a team approach to this as we possibly can moving through the session. A little bit different this year, but a much needed change. As you guys know, we've added a deputy commissioner for government relationships. That's Helen Big Pen. And we really put trust and confidence in Helen to help us organize this legislative session, and she'll be working closely with Deputy Commissioner Trevor, who's been here a long time doing the same stuff, but put together a real cohesive team to really manage our message in the Capitol, and work with the campuses as well to try to advance the needs of the system. I'm going to turn it over to Helen to give a little update of where we're at, knowing that we're hours into this thing. But before I do so, I just want to mention a letter that you all received from the governor. Many of you know that, or probably have heard, the governor recently issued a directive to the state IT system banning TikTok on state-issued devices, or well connected to the connected to the state network. You all received a letter in the last few days asking support to consider similar measures from the MUS. What I can tell you is that we have been working after the governor's directive came out for the state system. We put together a team here at the MUS that is working with the CIOs across the system to really work through that issue and how we can best protect those resources. We will issue a directive on your behalf that will likely, follow suit in terms of not having TikTok installed on any of the state system or the state resources. And we'll continue to work with the governor's office and with our CIOs to make sure that we're protecting the state assets as best as we can. Happy to take any questions on that. I just thought it's certainly worth mentioning. It is a concern of the governor's office, and it's certainly one that we want to protect the assets of the MUS. And I honestly believe there is some vulnerability there that we need to make sure that we're handling it appropriately. Any questions on that? If not,
So, yeah, just because I'm not super techie, I guess, but so like students plugging into the network, have it on their devices. I mean, how far does it go, or is there a way of protecting that to where a student can have it, but is it a system change, or is it like that? That's where it's fuzzy to me. I didn't know how that works.
Regents Southworth, fair enough. And I will tell you, I don't know if we're to that decision point yet, how far we go with it, but students would certainly be able to have it on their devices. Whether they access that over our network or not is one of the things that we're still trying to debate. In modern day iPhones, if you're not getting it on the state network, then it'll default to cell coverage, and most students would be able to do what they do. But that is the conversation, that we would prohibit it from being on state-owned devices for sure, and then potentially limit the traffic over the state network, depending on how well we can protect access points, whether that's a step that we need to go to or not. I think that's sort of what the CIO team is debating right now.
Do we have, sure, Commissioner, are there outside threat assessments about what we're really solving for? I mean, are there other states that are approaching this? Is there a federal directive, or are we relying on the governor's office?
Madam Chair, Regent Bao, I think the answer is kind of all the above. I think the governor's office has worked fairly closely with the FBI and other agencies and feel that there is some vulnerability. I think other states have looked at that. 19 states, I think last count, had adopted similar stance. so that there is some growing national concern. There's some considered federal legislation around it as well. So it's a bit of a work in progress. I think to the earlier answer, we're sort of working through that. But I think there is some vulnerability that's been identified by a number of federal agencies. That's been conveyed to state agencies. And so I think it's appropriate to at least take a look at it. We're an educational institution, so there may be instances where for educational purposes, we have some exceptions, but I think protecting the state resource and that of the MUS is the paramount piece, and we'll just work through what we need to do to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Chair, then if we could, I would turn it over to Deputy Commissioner Thigpen to give us a little update on how this session's going so far. I mean, it was a great day yesterday. Everybody seemed to be getting along. They got sworn in. Yeah. 89 to go.
Good morning, Chairman Rogers. Thank you, Commissioner Christian. Welcome, Regents. Good to see you, President Bodner. Nice to be here with everyone. As you know, the session kicked off yesterday. Legislators were sworn in. You had the opportunity, many of you had the opportunity to engage with legislators over the last couple of days and even this morning at the chamber breakfast, and so appreciate everyone making the time to do that. I think those opportunities are really valuable and significant that you have the opportunity to network with them and hear from them directly. So appreciate that for sure. As the commissioner said, one of our major roles, one thing that we've carved out here at OCHI is that we lead the legislative efforts on behalf of the university system. And what that means in practice is that we serve as the primary legislative liaison for the system and for the campuses. We advocate for the university system budget and, of course, the capital projects. And then we monitor all legislation that may have an impact on the university system and higher ed in Montana. So we have hit the ground running. We've been planning for, seems like a long time. And we're only one day in, but it seems like it could be longer already. I'm not sure if that's a good sign or a bad sign. Over 4,000 bills have been requested, as the commissioner said, which is the highest number of bill drafts requested ever. So you will see, if you happen to be up and looking through the list of bills, you will see thousands of bill requests. And I just would again reiterate that doesn't necessarily mean that all of those bills will be drafted. That's probably impossible based on the number of staff that they have working a number of hours over there already. But there are several hundred that have already been introduced in the session, whether it's to the House or the Senate. They've been assigned a bill number. So we are tracking those bills on a daily basis. We meet here in the office, and we have a large group from OCHI that monitor all aspects of those bills. We go through, we rank them based on the Board of Regents priorities, 1, 2, or 3, with 1 being the highest, and we work through those. And when a staff member is assigned that bill, they're responsible for monitoring all aspects of that bill from beginning to end. So all the hearings, all the amendments, everything that happens with it, and then they can report back and we can decide what, if any, action we need to take on that in the office.
And there are points awarded for the most bills that you.
There are points awarded.
Everything's a competition. There are prizes.
Yes, we have to have a good competition.
Might be ready.
So if you're wondering what bills are ranked with the #1 priority, that would be things like House Bill 2, the main appropriations bill for all of state government, including the university system, House Bill 5, which includes all the capital projects, House Bill 13, which is the state pay plan. So those types of bills are really ranked as our top priority. And we try very hard to remain very focused on those pieces. If we spent the entire session working on all the different potential bills that might impact us, we would be incredibly divided in terms of our resources, and it would be very hard. So we try to remain focused on our priorities and then engage where we can on other significant topics, and I'll touch on those in just a second. So House Bill 2, just as a quick reminder, does follow a different process, and I'm sure this group knows that, but it starts in the subcommittees, which is actually a nice process because we get an in-depth look with a fiscal analyst at every aspect of our budget. We know that group, we work well with them. We'll spend several days going through all of the different program areas. Deputy Commissioner Trevor reviewed those for you at the November Board of Regents meeting. It will be very similar at that meeting. We will go through with a fiscal analyst those pieces of the budget. So we'll be very engaged with that. That's the process that kicks off on January 18th. So that's what we're preparing for right now, and we'll be ready for that. The next big piece on our list is House Bill 5, and that begins, the commissioner noted this, last week of the month on January 26th. So that's when the MUS project will be up for consideration in Section F, which is the subcommittee for the long-range building projects. So those are two big things that are happening already this month. The other item that Commissioner Christian mentioned is that House Bill 13, the state pay plan, is already up for a hearing this afternoon. We will be there in support of that bill on behalf of the university system and its many employees. Just talking a little bit about, it will be very brief, but just talking a little bit about the challenges that we have with retention and making sure that we are in support of that bill. So we'll be there this afternoon. The other item this week that I wanted to call to your attention is that tomorrow afternoon, the Senate Education Committee and the House Education Committee are going to be meeting jointly to bring up some of the topics that you all addressed in the Constitutional Authorities meeting, which was in June 6th, and then in September. There'll be Chair Beatty will be talking a little bit about those topics. So we will be there representing at that meeting. We don't expect to be necessarily at the podium or presenting at that meeting, but we will be available if there are questions about any of the university system programs or efforts that we already have underway. But we will be there. And I think that for this week, we have a couple other things that we're monitoring, but that's sort of where we are at the first week of the session. And I'm very thankful that we have a group of individuals that will be working with us, including the presidents and chancellors and Dave Kuntz from University of Montana and Jim Booth from MSU, who will be working with us as well. So we're excited about the team, and I think we're going in a good position. So feeling good about that. There will be a few challenges this session, which we are looking at right now. If you go through the list, it's no surprise. There are bills that are reference the university system, the Board of Regents, the Commissioner's Office. There are a couple of requests to amend the Constitution in Article 10, Section 9, which is the piece of the Constitution that vests you all as regents with the full authority to manage and control the university system. So we are going to be managing that and working through those topics. And there may be points where, as regents, you may be asked to help us weigh in on some of those topics. And the commissioner will work with you on those pieces. So I raise that just to let you know that that is obviously something that directly would impact this board and something that we need to be cognizant of going forward. So we'll be working through that. There will be other bills that will come up. But again, we are going to try and remain focused on our big priority pieces and advocate for the system where we can. So those are those pieces. In terms of updating you all and keeping you in the loop, we'll be sending out regular updates to you on a weekly basis about what's happening. So expect those on Friday. We're also going to be our web page for government relations will be up and running this week, and we'll have some more information, some fact sheets on there about some MUS programs. We'll have legislative information on there, contact information, and then we'll also be posting those weekly legislative updates there, just as if you want to get on there and check in just the real highlights from each week. And then also I'm available to, if you ever have any questions, you want to run something by me, I'm happy to engage whenever you need. We'll be working with the student lobbyists who we met recently, who are fabulous. We're excited to have them on board and part of the system. And of course, Regent Blossom's perspective will be very important as the student regent. So looking forward to working with everybody. And the last person I want to mention who's not in the room, but who you will be receiving some information from is Leanne Kurtz. Leanne joined us recently as a legislative and communications assistant to help me out with some work. I only have her part-time, but she is an amazing resource. She spent 22 years at Legislative Services working on a variety of different topics. She's also spent some time working at the Commissioner of Political Practices Office. So she's got a great knowledge base and perspective there, and she's just fabulous to have on board. So she'll be helping with some communications updates and just helping keep the trains on the track. So if you have a chance, Leanne's just sitting out front here. If you could stop by and just introduce yourself, that'd be great. So we're happy to have Leanne on the team, and it's happy to answer any questions on day 2 of the session.
Thank you so much, Helen. Any questions?
Just make a comment, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner, everybody. I mean, the confidence that this agency and you as individuals enjoy across the elected legislators is just made so clear to me as I interact with them. And that's trust, that's the great work that you do to protect the direction that this institution's going. And can't thank you enough. We know this is not 3 months of taking time off. This is a lot of work, and really want to say thank you for all the way you engage and reflect the priorities of the system in such a trusted way among our elected officials. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, well said, Todd. I found myself at the reception last night saying over and over again, we have this incredible staff. You know, it gives, I think, all of us as Regents so much confidence just to know that you're there and tracking everything. And we really appreciate the updates, and thanks for making the new webpage too. That'll be great to have it public facing as well. Please.
One other comment, thanks, Chair Rogers. I think the alignment and the continued priorities are also essential, right? So we're not flipping our priorities around, which I think is the other thing that I heard too, is that consistent.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you went right down them, and I presume that the students have the same, so that we stay always aligned message-wise and priorities. We're not shifting those either, which I think is part of the confidence.
Excellent. Madam Chair, we might just pause for a couple seconds here. We're getting some report of some sound issues. All right, what do you want to do, you guys? You're gonna reboot something, or?
You unplug it?
Seems like you unplug it, don't you? If there's a problem,
I think you kick it. It's a kick when it's sound, I think.
it's a kick.
Yeah, just a kick.
Jeff thinks maybe something's wrong with the Knibbler pin.
It's all good.
That's TikTok. Sorry for the interruption. That does, however, conclude our commissioner's report, and we can move on with the agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Christian. And welcome to Superintendent Arnson. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, excellent. I was ready for a tardy slip, but looks like I can put that in my pocket for another day. So that's good. Happy New Year. It's a joy to be here and to have this P12 discussion, as much as having a good discussion on what we're going to do together this next year. I have 2 years left in my term, and to recognize that also means to recognize the great work that our team has done together in all of this. And I want to say I appreciate the consistency, but I also appreciate new faces. I appreciate, the heartfelt understanding of coming back, Regent Buchanan, as much as moving forward and what we can do together. You've gotten my report. I don't need to reiterate it. One of the things I do want to share, though, in our partnership is the residency program. And new things happened right before Christmas break, where the governor's office, budget office, called and said they would be willing to put some of their gear dollars in, which is the COVID-related money, into the teacher residency program. And I find that very exceptional at this point. I know I also had a program that I lovingly called Ian's. It was a non-public, and I got it in 2 tranches. And I could not deliver it out to our non-public education partners. We have very few of them across our state, including our homeschools, which amount to about 4,000 of those that are recognized at the county level. But our procurement laws are challenging, so to try to navigate around that, I gave the governor back about 12 million of the 20 million. So I gave it back with a caveat, if he had the opportunity to return it in a manner. He has returned it then in a possible manner for residency at almost $2 million, which I think is a great investment. Here's my challenge. I am only working with Western. I have 18 individuals that are in our public schools right now. Half of the 18 are in our tribal schools. That means they come in their 4th year of college and they have a classroom with a mentor teacher, and they are there for the entire year. Skin in the game from the district is the ability to be there as well as to provide housing, which may be $700 a month, or it may be even a little bit larger. Now, $700 a month, that's, times 10, we can do the math on that. That's quite an investment that a district is putting into play. The cost of this type of a resident is $20,000. And this is what we are investing in the federal COVID relief money. That's a lot. What I am asking of you and your aspect here as Regents, but also with the 10 teacher prep programs that we have out there, let's not just have it be Western. They have been a fabulous partner. But if we could grow this across our state, then we are secure in hiring teachers. I know I'm going to have a deficit of 800 next year. 800 classrooms won't have a person. Now, we could go remote world with that. We could definitely be very creative as Montana is resilient. But my grandchildren, your children deserve that quality teacher. Help me grow that. That's a Montana way to do it. I have asked, and I know there is some opportunity to do any kind of loan forgiveness or anything that can happen from the university. Let's all have skin in the game as we grow our teachers. Not just out of one, but if I can have it out of many and secure all schools across our state and growing our teachers. The other part of this is, and I wanna leave you with this, teacher leadership. We need leaders in education. We need leaders that support community in our local control model. We need leaders that understand the budget, that can navigate the political challenges coming after a pandemic, as well as navigating that best teacher learning practice that we have. If there is a way to grow teacher leaders, help me. Help me. That doesn't mean that it's a one-day class and done with. This is mentoring and helping them all the way through. And mentor is a big word, and it may be overused. But there are many ways that we can work together to formulate a teacher to become that leader. I was that. I was doing my master's when someone said, why don't you run for the legislature? It's only $15 to put your name on a signature and then become an honorable. I did that. And I failed in becoming a teacher leader. And now look where I'm at now. Everything that I could have been in that teacher leadership maybe would have made me a better superintendent to help guide. There are many more like me in our classrooms right now. Let's grow that population if we could. Commissioner, members, thank you. You've got my report. Please read it. Not very many pages. I'm excited for what we can do together. It was kind of like coming out of them being sworn in or sworn out yesterday and me remembering my 12 years of service amongst their body. They have a lot of work to do. Let's honor them, even though we may not understand. I didn't understand some of their things in the rulemaking committee yesterday. I don't understand everything when I look at the bills and what they're trying to propose. And I know you may have questions of me of what I might be proposing. But let's look at this as a team effort. And let's really try to understand what it is that our systems can relate together. for our future, for our kids. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for allowing me these few minutes. Thank you. I'll stand for questions or comments.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Arntzen. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us and take time out of your busy schedule and day, especially with the legislative session going on. So appreciate the partnership and appreciate the ongoing participation. Yeah.
So does that mean that I can now be dismissed?
You are now excused.
She must stay. Give you a hall pass. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you
so much.
Thanks for being here.
New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Wonderful. Well, we'll go ahead with our agenda for today. I believe everyone has had a chance to review the consent agenda items. Are there any items any regent would like to remove from the consent agenda? Regent Blossom.
Thanks, Chair Rogers. I just had a question about facility item E. It's a request to authorize a new lease for the Mechanical and Industrial Department at Montana State. I'm in the Mechanical and Industrial Department, and specifically in my program, Industrial Engineering. During the time that I've been at MSU, we've lost over half, like well over half of the faculty in that department. So I was just a little surprised to see that an investment in this department is going towards something not related to faculty, given that there is still, some work to be done to bring that back up to the level that it probably should be at. I'm sure there's, this is a well thought through decision, but I was just curious to get some clarity behind why an investment in this department is going towards something, not staffing related, and if there's a really attractive, return on investment with this, or kind of what's going on there. So not sure who to direct that to exactly, but.
Please, Deputy Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I might, I'd have Director Lyons address this.
Madam Chair, Regent Blossom. So right now, some of the programming and some of the research and some of the mechanical, like putting it into motion, right? So think 3D printers and that sort of thing. They don't have the space currently in Norm Asbjornson Hall to handle the equipment and to be actually put some of that stuff into production. And so this leased space would be for the production of the projects that you students do, maybe some of the research and some of that the faculty are going to do as well. So it's really just a temporary space also until the Gianforte School of Computing opens. So there'll be a combined lab once that new building starts, but until that time, they don't have space to put some of the projects into production and be able to provide the equipment that you all need for some of your projects and research.
Thanks for providing clarity. And that's been determined to be a more, that's a more pressing issue than some of the staffing, which is fair enough, but I just wanted that's been, involved in that conversation, if that's more pressing than some of the staffing issues.
It's to be able to keep your academics moving forward and seamlessly until we get the new building up.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it.
Welcome.
Is that satisfied?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Great question, Regent Blossom. Sounds like we're going to maintain the consent agenda as is. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Regent Bao. Is there any discussion or corrections from members of the board? Any discussion or corrections from the campuses? Any public comment? Great. Seeing no further comment, I will call for the vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Great, well, we'll move on to our action agenda. Our first action item A, we are actually gonna move forward to our March meeting. This agenda item requires a little bit more work. So we'll move forward with action item B. This item is a request for authorization to increase spending to remodel the research storage building at the Flathead Lake Biological Station. I'll turn it over to Deputy Commissioner Trevor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item originally came to the board in September of 2020 for a request to spend up to $500,000. Typical with projects that were approved around that time, went out for bid and came back higher. This one came back at $660,000. This project is completely funded with federal grant, and the grant is extended or elevated in order to cover the additional cost. So the remodel basically adds a lab, adds a walk-in freezer, remodels a bathroom for ADA compliance. And I believe that's about the extent of the description I can provide to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Deputy Commissioner Tyler? Great. Well, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve action item B.
So moved.
Thank you. Regent Dombrowski, any discussion or corrections from members of the board? Any discussion or corrections from the campuses? And any public comment? Great, seeing no further comment, I will call for the vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Now let's go ahead and move on to action item C, a request for authorization to expand McGill Hall at the University of Montana. Please, Deputy Commissioner Trevor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the title indicated, this is a $3 million addition to McGill Hall, which is an existing academic building on the UM campus. This building houses the Center for Work Physiology and Exercise Metabolism, which it turns out is a pretty cool project that they've got going on here for a couple of reasons. And no pun intended. The project adds laboratory space, offices, meeting rooms, changing rooms, and an ultra low temperature walk-in chamber to conduct experiments of the effects of cold weather on work. So I think us, or at least over the last 2 or 3 weeks, can all relate to how that research would go. And what else? This is completely funded with facilities and administrative cost recoveries from federal grants. We've funded projects like this before in the past. It's a 3,500 square foot addition. The fact that it is part of an academic building and academic space, it will require this laboratory to receive legislative spending authority. I point that out because we have a long list of authority-only projects that will go in front of the legislature. This currently is not on that list. However, we will do what we can in the legislative process to get that amended into it. Madam Chair.
Great, thank you so much, Deputy Commissioner Trevor. Any questions from members of the board? Great, I'll entertain a motion to approve item C.
So moved.
Moved by Regent Buchanan. Any discussion or corrections from members of the board? Discussions or corrections from the campuses? Or any public comment? Great. Seeing no further comment, I will call for the vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same side. The motion passes. And now we'll move on to our final action item. It's a deferred compensation request, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Christian to introduce the item.
Madam Chair, thank you. This item in front of you is essentially to move President Bodner's deferred compensation package from a defined benefit to a defined contribution. We have, over the years, since about 2010, offered the presidents and the commissioner part of their compensation is in a deferred comp package. We started all of those with a defined benefit for the first 5 years. The one thing that allowed us to do is create a vesting schedule where you had to stay 5 years. President Bodner is now at his 5-year anniversary, I think actually today or tomorrow. So congrats. But frankly, the defined benefits are more challenging for us. We have to manage the investments. We have to live with the returns. We've had some tax consequences creep up with the annuities. So as we did with mine and the MSU presidents, we moved to a defined contribution when that initial piece was over, and that is the request in front of you is to do that. At that point, then the individuals manage the investments and they live with the returns of those investments, and there isn't the tax consequences. It's a well organized IRS vehicle that allows for the deferred comp to be placed in those accounts. So that's the request in front of you. Those of you keeping score over the overall compensation, President Bodner is compensated at about 65% of the national average for doctoral institutions of similar scope and size. And with the deferred comp, it takes him just over about 70%. So still a very good value in Montana, and something that I would highly recommend we support the move.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any questions or comments from the Regents? Wonderful. Well, I do want to congratulate you, Seth, for 5 years. And just express our gratitude for the good work that you're doing over at University of Montana. I'm glad to be able to have the opportunity to bring this forward so that we can move you into this new program as well.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair and Regents. It has been and continues to be a privilege to serve this university, the system, and the state of Montana.
Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to approve item D. Moved by Regent Lozar. Is there any discussion or corrections from members of the board? Any discussion or corrections from the campuses? And any public comment? Okay, seeing no further comment, I will call for the vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion passes. And the next item on our agenda is the consideration of 3 appeals. Each appeal has been given a number, and for each of the 3 appeals, you have received the commissioner's decision and the written appeal with supporting documents submitted by the campus and the appellant. The issue before the board for each appeal is whether to consider the appeal at a later meeting. Our appeal policy does not require us to accept an appeal if we are satisfied with the commissioner's review and decision. The sole question is whether any regent believes the issues addressed in the commissioner's decision need further review by the board. If you do not wish to hear the appeal at the board level, it is not necessary to make a motion. A lack of action on our part will signify our decision not to hear the case. The appeal is confidential. The board will not address the individual involved by name, identify the campus involved, or discuss the facts or specific issues. Are there any general questions with this procedure before we continue with the appeal? I will now entertain a motion to hear any of the appeals before the board. If you wish to move an appeal, please identify the appeal by number and not by the name of the appellant. There being no motion to hear any of the appeals, the appellant's requests that we entertain these appeals are denied. The commissioner's decision in each of these appeals is upheld. Thank you. And now, since this is a public meeting, I will now call for any public comment. Public comment may be offered on items on this meeting's agenda or any matter not on the agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the Board of Regents. Written public comment may also be sent to Jasmine Casanovas at jcasanovas@montana.edu. To allow us to give everyone a chance to comment, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Jasmine, is there any public comment?
There's not.
Okay. One more time. Give people 1 more minute to log on to Zoom. Any public comment? Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. That concludes our public agenda for this morning. Our next items will be taken up during executive session. As we move into the executive session and as the presiding officer, I have determined that the discussion relates to a matter of individual privacy and that the demands of individual privacy clearly exceed the merits of public disclosure. Our meeting is adjourned at the conclusion of the executive session. Thank you all so much for your time today.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, everyone.